What separates the startups that burn out from the ones that change the world? It's not talent, luck, or even money. It's something far more rare. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I have a dear friend, Dinesh Gauba, the investor who's helped build empires while saving the planet. He will reveal how founders and investors can find each other and rewrite the rules of success. Welcome to the stage, my friend Dinesh. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Carlos. Great to see you, buddy.
Yes, sir, man. I'm
Excited
such
to
an
be
honor
here.
to have you on the show, my brother. You have so much wisdom. I mean, both of our families live in the Silicon Valley Bay Area for more than 20 plus years. I think you are even longer. And I'm super excited. A long due conversation here. And get ready, ladies and gentlemen. Dinesh is our walking wisdom. We met on the stages around the world. We spoke at a bunch of Oscars events back in the day in Los Angeles, San Diego, many, many other events with startups and entrepreneurs. And he's a walking wisdom, and I cannot wait to interview. For some of you guys that don't know Dinesh, he's a dynamic entrepreneur. He's an investor and an advisor with 20 plus years of experience in the tech industry. He has held like senior roles in startups and public companies, really leveraging his expertise to drive successful investments and especially philanthropic endeavors. So I'm very, very excited. And Dinesh, right off the bat, you said investors who care, they are worth 10 times more than those who just write checks. How can founders spot the difference early on, my friend?
That's a great question, Carlos. I think it comes back to being clear on your vision and mission and asking, almost interviewing your investors to understand if they align with that and if they truly care about the problem you're trying to solve. Especially, this goes back to earlier stage investors when you're trying to find your early, supporters. They really need to believe in the problem you're solving and have either a personal connection to it or be very aligned to what you're trying to do. And the reason for that is just because it's going to be a long, tough ride, and you want people that are not gonna are going to be supportive through that process. And it's not a smooth ride, and they need to know that. And the ones that are really going to hang in there, and the ones that you can actually, they're almost in it with you and they believe in the problem that you're trying to solve as much as you do. That's really what you're looking for, whether that's your friends, family, or angel investors, or VCs. You're kind of looking for those core qualities and to see if they can be honest with you when things get hard, and if you can have that, that really open communication and strong relationship to get through whatever the heck is going to come your way, which
For
which
real.
for sure there's going to be a ton of stuff.
For real, man. You and I, we've seen so much here on the Bay Area. And I remember, man, that like long time ago, where people, they will come in and we're sitting there as VCs and they will come to Mountain View and they will pitch their startups and they will fly from around the world and they will come here to Silicon Valley. And I remember, some of you guys are VCs will be sitting there. Carlos, go train them how to pitch because they'll be so boring telling, oh, I got this idea. And they're like, no passion. Just so many stories, my being here in the Bay Area. And I watched this whole evolution of investors and startups and all the think tanks and the Shark Tank events that happen around the area. But Dinesh,
Mhm.
with your experience, what's one thing founders they do in pitches that accidentally repel mission-driven investors?
I think you have to really understand and read people, right? You got to know and adjust your pitch based on who you're pitching to. So having done some research on them would be good. If you know who you're meeting with, you know what they care about, understanding that not all people are the same, not all pitches are the same. So, a lot of times people create the standard pitch and they just use it and they send their decks out, and not the best approach. It could definitely work, but to find the best investors, you want to be a little more intentional, be more informed and educated on what they care about. Do some homework if you can, and learn whatever you can about them, and see what other companies they might be invested in if that information is available. Again, not always the case, but when it is, you should know about it. So do your homework, and the more you go in prepared, the more you can customize the pitch. Some people are not that technical. If you're trying to present something technical, getting into the technology, you're just going to lose them, right? They might care about other things. So, and then there's others that are very technical, and if you don't go there with them, then you're not going to get their interest. So you have to kind of navigate based on the person, and understanding people is a big part of raising capital and finding the right kind of investors and building a successful company, especially if you're trying to build something that's large and wants to scale.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point, because I know a lot of angel investors. I've done a bunch of VC myself. And if you're going to come in and pitch, to somebody that's, let's say, if you want to pitch a non-tech, you know, startup project to a technical person like yourself, you love investing in tech. We have friends and even billionaire friends like Mr. Stearns, that big in the tech space. And if you're going to go to him with something that's non-technical, he's just going to say no, right? So it's so important knowing what other projects has those VCs and ourselves have invested into, right? And then because the extra step in doing the homework, looking at their LinkedIn, look at their last blogs, or if they have a book, the things that are important to them, that extra step that is so important and so many people miss. You're so right, where they just have a standard pitch. No, it's like, no, you got to diversify. And I love that. And Dinesh, how can a founder's story turn a skeptical investor into a passionate advocate?
I think that goes back to, again, the connection to the problem, and how much the investor can be bought into. How connected is this founder to the problem? Are they willing to go through all the ups and downs, go to hell and back, basically, to solve this problem, right? And the stronger their tie is to it and their personal story is to it, especially if it's a first-time founder. Serial founders have a different profile, but if it's a first-time founder, really getting to the core of why did they pick this problem to solve now, right? And why are they the best person to solve it? Like, that's what they have to convince the investor. And that has to come and be authentic. If it's not, most good investors will see through that. And so that's really the differentiator for people that successfully raise money and ones that don't, is the core of connecting to the problem and convincing the investors that they are the right person. This is the right time. And what led them to that place. A lot of times people just jump into their pitch and it's like all numbers and metrics, which is great. You want to do that for the right kind of investor. But the more you can get the investor to connect to the problem you're solving and to you and to your story, the more likely they are to even take another meeting or to dig in further.
Yeah. No, real talk, my brother, real talk. No, I appreciate that because, you always have some incredible projects that you are working on every time that we talk. I highly recommend, if you guys are investors, I know that you and I are over here in the Bay Area, but, you guys can be an investor traditionally in America but around the world. I highly recommend you guys follow my brother Dinesh. He's always having incredible projects that he's part of. I'm talking about disruptive technologies that the Fortune 30, 50 companies talk about. And just, yeah, man, I'm just super excited for this conversation. As I often say, Dinesh, the right investor doesn't just fund your company, they feel your obsession. Let that sink in for a minute. Some of the founders and VCs and CEOs and executives that follow us here on social, especially on LinkedIn, man, we've been getting about 100,000+ impressions a week. So shout out to all of you guys over here on LinkedIn listening to us. If you are an investor, if you are a startup, reach out. Definitely follow my friend Dinesh, as he's involved in pretty cool stuff. And you'll be glad that you met my brother Dinesh and got to know him on a deeper level. But Dinesh, you worked with founders for decades. What's the number one mistake startups they make after securing funding that destroys investors' trust?
That is a great question, Carlos. I don't know if there's a specific answer to that, but I would say in general, it's lack of transparency and lack of engagement. So once you raise the money, if you don't ever keep in touch with your key investors and you don't give them updates on a regular basis and you don't share the good and the bad, a lot of times founders don't do that. They just too busy building, they forget about that piece and they only go back when they need money or there's a problem. And and that creates a lot of friction over time because the investor loses trust, right? And the whole idea is to keep trust and build a trusted network around you of whether it's your team or it's investors or customers. You got to have that very strong level of trust that comes from open, transparent communication and really, showing them that this is a partnership, which it is. I mean, any company to become sizable takes years, and it requires the belief and support of the team and the investors to get the company there, to get the founder there. So, keeping them in the loop on stuff and making them feel part of the journey, especially if, the ones that are truly connected to the problem. It's not that you just get the check and then that's it. And they get an update from you randomly, which tends to be the case for a lot of founders because, maybe they don't have the experience or they're not people. So they're just too busy building. But, that's a very important thing to keep in mind is that you need to keep that trust level very high and be transparent, be honest, and not all news is good news. And the ones that are truly by your side, they will support you because they believe in the mission, and they will help you if you go to them early enough and are open and transparent enough, rather than waiting till the point where it's too late and you can't do anything to turn things around. And now you go to them and now you've lost all the trust. And even your biggest supporters now will not support you.
Yeah, no, man. That's so true, my brother. It's so true, man. And sometimes, just like one thing that I love about you is like you always go above and beyond. You always, offer value. Many times, if you see me speaking or running a mastermind or doing something, you would come to me and you offer value. You give feedback. And I love that about you because you think differently, right? Like you're always coming from that place of adding value and you do the same thing. And that's why you're so successful and you sit on so many boards of companies, big companies. We're not talking about like mom and pop. We're talking about billion-dollar companies that they are blessed to have you sitting there, my brother. So just a little feedback from you that I love that about you. Always coming from a place of value, offering feedback. And that's why you and your wife, shout out to Dr. Sheila, adding so much value to others, which I'm going to also have it on the show. And I'm looking forward to that. But, you're touching on a good thing about, the tough times. And speaking of the tough times, Dinesh, how can founders turn investors into true partners, especially through those tough times? What would be your biggest advice on that, my brother?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the question earlier, right? It's staying engaged. What I see a lot of times founders start looking for investors when they're trying to raise money. And I think it can certainly work and you can get lucky, but if you're going to be more intentional about it, you want to engage these people before you ever raise money or before you want to raise money or before you need anything from them, right? And you want to find these people that are going to be your allies because they believe in the problem you're trying to solve. And whether they invest or not, they open their network or they become advisors, that's what you want. You just want them to be in your sphere and to build these kind of trusted advisors around you and then keep them engaged. And that's what keeps them tied to your journey and to want to support you, whether it comes time to when you are raising money, if they know exactly what you're working on, they know what progress you've made. They've been through some of your journey. They're much more likely to be there for you and to support whatever that next step is. And if you're going through challenges or pain points, again, it's having that strong relationship that's outside of the money. That's really where it gets valuable. And it's not always about the money. The money may not be the biggest thing that they can provide to you. It could be the advice, it could be the network, it could be just another person to brainstorm with that'll be honest will give you, will be brutally honest, which is what you need sometimes. So I think you got to look at the whole picture and, really build these sort of relationships that will allow you to get through those hard times, because it is not easy to build a company, for sure. It's the probably one of the hardest things that people go through, and you have to have very strong conviction and have these trusted people around you that in the dark times you can have those difficult conversations, you can be vulnerable. It's not all about, looking great and coming out and talking only when things are going well, but it's being able to have these open, honest conversations with this kind of trusted peer group or, advisors that will help you through that, and they'll help you see the perspective or change perspective or come up with new ideas and help you get through those dark times. And that's something that I see a lot of founders don't always take advantage of. That they just see their investors as a check writer many times, and once the money's in, investor doesn't even hear from them. And I think that's leaving a lot of value on the table, what the investors can do for you if you get the right investors around you.
Yeah, man, such a great advice and answer, man, to that question, brother. I like you and I, we've seen a lot, right? You and I know a bunch of celebrities and high level CEOs over here in Silicon Valley, and sometimes, because of mental health, some of these people might be a little suicidal, or they might be in under a lot of stress with their marriage and their companies and their board. You and I know the stress that the board puts on those CEOs, and sometimes it's like you say, it's not the money; it's just picking up the phone and checking on them, right? Like a week or 2 weeks after they wrote that check, hey, how you really doing? Or if you heard something on the tabloids or whatever the case may be, or at the end of Q1 or Q2 and the numbers doesn't look so well, right? And
Mhm.
just checking on that person. Sometimes it's like, how are you really doing? Let's cut the BS, right?
Yeah.
And you and I know that goes so far away. And it's sometimes people like, I don't have the time. I don't want to bother this person. You actually know successful people have time,
Mhm.
and successful people, when you reach out and you ask for help or an advice, they're going to be there. They might be busy at that time if they don't call, but if you follow up or ask them for a time, they will get back to you, and you talk about it, and they remember those things. It's the little stuff that we underestimate, man. So that's a real talk. And I
You're
was always,
absolutely right. I mean, in my entire portfolio of companies, the ones I engage with more are the founders that I'm more connected to, that I reach out, or that are that are keeping me in the loop, that care to get my advice, that are active with their investors. And those are the ones I find that they're also more resilient when things go wrong. They feel okay to ask for help, right? It's not, nobody has all the answers, and until you've been through the journey a few times, there's definitely a lot to learn. And so, just making sure you're open to that, and you're doing it in a way where you're not just taking or asking for people's time. You're willing to recognize that that's, everybody's busy, but it's the relationship that opens those doors. If you've built that relationship of trust and adding value and keeping people engaged, then they're more likely to want to talk to you and help you. And
yeah.
so but that's a long term, view of how to build that. It's not something that happens overnight, or it's not a transactional thing.
Yeah, no, that's so true, my friend. And speaking of that, Dinesh, what is your trust checklist for maintaining alignment over years and not months? Which is such a great topic, that we're talking. So, do you have like a trust checklist? Some of the things that you mentally do, like habit wise, for keeping those relationships strong over the years. It's like most people, right? It's paycheck to paycheck. I know for a long time, man, and you know how I am operates from purpose, relationship to relationship, and then we connected because of that. And so, do you have a trust checklist for maintaining those relationships for years over months?
I mean, I wouldn't say I have a written checklist, but a mental checklist maybe.
Yeah,
It's just, it's who's top of mind, right? Who's top of mind? How often do you reach out, or do you stay connected to that person? And, I'll give you a great example. I was involved in a company about a decade ago that we ended up selling the company, and it was based on one relationship. I literally kept this one relationship that, you know, would have been very easy to forget and not do anything about. And that relationship, I nurtured it and I kept that person in the loop on what we were doing. And even though they weren't going to invest, and then next thing I know, out of 3 or 4 times I've talked to them, they reach out. When I reach out to them to check in, they're like, okay, wait, I have someone you should meet. And that leads to another meeting, which then leads to the company being acquired by a big public company. So I think these are the sort of experiences that remind you, like you just never know. And you want to maintain and keep those relationships as much as you can. And I know it's hard because everybody's busy. So, but we also have many other ways to reach out, and you got to be out there. I mean, you really do have to take the extra effort to be a founder and to raise money and to build a company. You have to be kind of superhuman to a certain extent. So yes, it's going to be hard. You gotta be willing to put in that extra effort, because raising money and connecting to good investors is a lot of effort, right? It requires you to interact with people and for people to like you and to get to know you, and to maintain that relationship and friendship, right? If you can get those kind of people around you and build those relationships and friendships, it's much more likely that, you can keep that relationship going.
Yeah, no, that is so true, man. I know that, and then you are just a living example of that, brother. You're always out there
Always trying.
traveling, always on the go. You and I we always meet each other somewhere around the world, and I love that about you, man. Literally, you do not just talk; you walk the talk, man. And
I
that's
try.
what I love about you, brother. You know what I mean? It's real talk. Like I always talk about, man, relationships aren't built on updates. They are
Mhm.
built on honesty when the
Mhm.
numbers aren't pretty. Just let that sink in for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. But my brother, you are an investor who co-founded Eco Green Auto Clean to save water. Just incredible project. Why do the best investors care about legacy, not just ROI?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. It goes back to the, attaching to the mission, right? It's like finding things that you care about. And investors ultimately want to invest, at least most investors want to invest in ideas or businesses or people that they care about and problems that they would care to solve, right? Money is a tool. And so it's basically, how do you magnify the impact of the money? And of course, you want to have a return and you want to have a good business. But when you go beyond that, most investors, they want to have some kind of attachment to that, because that's the legacy, right? It's like everybody wants to say, yeah, I was part of this, or I was part of creating this or supporting this, whether it's a new disruptive technology or a new company that becomes a household name, right? Everybody would love to say that, yeah, I was early part of the early supporters, or anywhere along that journey. I helped that company or founder in whatever way I could. And that's the legacy part of it. Like I think anyone that's in this space, they would love to have a positive impact, right? And make money. You can be good and do good. So I think that's what I look for. And I'm sure that's what a lot of founders would like to have, those kind of investors. But you have to really seek them out and be willing to build those relationships to find out what truly matters to those people.
Yeah, no, no. Shout out to all my impact founders out there. And speaking of that, Dinesh, I'm always looking for ways to get the best out of you guys that come on the show to really, really add massive values. You guys know, man, the Carlos Inspire show is free. It's something that we do every week. Every Monday, we release an episode at 5:07 a.m. Pacific time at carlosinspireshow.com. And we wanted to become the number one educational podcasts in the planet. And that's why we bring people here on the caliber of Dinesh that, done billions of dollars with all his years of experience for companies, many of our celebrity guests and influencers and athletes that been on the show. So I appreciate you guys going on Apple, Spotify, giving us a 5-star review and subscribing to our podcast for free. And a question for you, Dinesh: how can founders pitch impact without scaring off profit focused investors?
That's a great question. Again, it's about finding alignment. Like, who are the investors that care about impact? And how well do you know them? How well do you know, or have you researched these people to know what they care about? because not all investors care about impact. I mean, that's just the reality, and it depends on who you're talking to. And if you are trying to find that alignment, or you're just trying to find money, and sometimes that's the case, you're just trying to find money, right? But if you can find the money with the alignment, and you can find smart money in the sense that it's attached to your cause, there's other ways that the investor can help you aside from just writing a check. That's a lot more powerful. And if you are able to build a deep connection with that person, bring them on your advisory board or be on the board, like someone that will be on the journey with you through the ups and downs, that's really where it becomes very powerful. And impact is a relative thing. It's not, impact means different things to different people. So you got to understand what it means to that person, and whether you can align with that, and whether it aligns with you, right? Because many times it may be impactful to them, but not to you. And so you want to make sure that you are finding a good fit there, right? Because this is going to be like a marriage. It's a long-term journey. And if your early supporters are not don't have the same belief in what you're doing, or don't care about the impact you're having, then it's going to be a harder journey, especially if things get tough, or if things don't go as planned.
Yeah, no, man, that is so true, man. I mean, you and I, we over here in the Bay Area for so long. We see all those guys. I remember when Zuckerberg, was struggling. Nobody wanted to give him the cash. People were leaving, and now I bet you they all regret. You
Well,
know,
most of the time you hear the story, it's after the success, and you didn't hear the 99 no's, or all the no's that they got. But a lot of these very big household names went through that journey, right? They've had a lot of no's, and most people probably said no to them. And it took one believer, right? Or two believers to
the Palo
really
Alto
get
garage
behind
and
them. I
do
mean,
that.
Silicon Valley is famous for that, right? It's the land of dreams, because you can come with that big vision and big dream to change the world. And there are people here that will align and, support you for that. You just got to find the right people, and you can
Yeah,
spend a lot of time talking to the wrong people, which is the challenge. The more you're intentional, and the more you can actually spend the time, because, finding that person is like a full-time job. It's finding those people, and putting the research and time in, and being intentional and authentic, right? You're not just trying to go build a relationship because you're trying to get something from them. But if you can find where you genuinely build connections with people, and you add value to their life, these are people that want to be around you. And that's
yeah,
the best money that you can raise is when people want to give it to you.
yeah,
You don't have to ask them for it. Like, they want to support your vision. They want to be proactive and say, "Hey, are you ready to take this thing to the next level? I want to be part of it. Let me know when your next round is," right?
yeah.
That's the best kind of investors or people you can have around you in your journey, are people that are excited for what you're doing, and they're waiting for the opportunity, rather than you just trying to go and ask for money.
Yeah. Pro tip for you guys out there raising money, doing fundraising and looking for investors, reach out to those founders in Fortune, 5,000s. Whenever you see them working on something or raising money, they love going through there for walks around Palo Alto, Mountain View area. I've done many walks in the morning and in the afternoon, or if they only had the time in the lunch, they love going for those walks just to kind of reset. And a huge, huge advice. If you can go for a walk with one of those founders, I had many friends that sold their companies to Google, and so huge, huge advice. And I even had the chance to meet Steve Jobs, man. That's one brother that I didn't have a chance to have on the podcast. That was when I was interviewing people on, social. I wasn't professionally yet, like I started doing the last 6 years on Apple. And Stevie loved walking around,
Yeah, you got to be out
Apple
there. I mean,
everywhere.
absolutely.
And there's guys that are out there, guys.
Yeah.
Zuckerberg, he goes, like, back in the day, he would go to Mountain View, to the bars in Palo Alto that he used to be a bartender. And he would literally go there out of nowhere, close the whole place, drinks on me, and he would serve people drinks. Imagine if you have an idea that you want to pitch. Zach, Zach is investing so much money on Oculus. He want to make the metaverse, and he have billions and billions in that. He has the vision. Now he have people like Dana White sitting on his board, and he's changing things a little bit how the algorithm works, making like kind of Twitter X alike, where now where people can really share their voice and voice their opinion without worrying about being canceled, all this nonsense that we've seen it out there. But and speaking of that, Dinesh, man, what a just incredible. You got me
I think you
vivid
got to be
memories
out
here.
there, Carlos. One thing that I want to leave some of the founders. You really have to be out there. You have to be a people person. You have to get out there, and I know a lot of tech founders. It's hard for them, or it's not natural. So you either have to have a co-founder that likes to do that, or partner with somebody, because you do need to be out there. And that's, you hear stories all the time. I have a founder that got funded by one of the founders of Google, because he was at a conference and he sat next to a lady and was had an interesting conversation. And next thing you know is that person is Google is the wife or a partner of Google founder. And so, that was his first check or a second check. And those kind of things only happen if you're out there and you can have the ability to connect with people and get them excited about what you're doing. You really have to carry that passion with you and have the energy to be out there, and always show up at your 100%, because that's what it takes to build something great.
Yeah,
And you're
no,
going to
man.
get a lot of no's along the way, and it's, you just need one yes, right? You need one yes from the right person, and that's going to come by you just going through that exercise many times over, and being authentic and genuine in your intent to find and connect with good people, and
Yeah,
not
that is
just immediately asking for money, right? That's the point. You can't just be very transactional,
yeah.
even though that tends to be like a lot of founders. They just want to raise the money and get on with it. But unfortunately, that's not where you find the best, or how you find the best investors.
Yeah, no, man. One of the biggest thing, I mean, you guys know, one of the companies that I own, getonmorestages.com, is helping people getting paid to speak, because I'm a firm believer the way how I was able to build my brand and connect with so many incredible people, and even get to know amazing people like you. We met through speaking on stages at many events. Me rolling up on the bicycle at the Oscars event,
Yeah, I remember.
throwing bread at Colin Farrell and Wesley Snipes.
Yeah. You showed up with
Again,
your full energy, right? That's
you
that's
know how
that's
many.
actually what got my attention, is your energy level was always 110%. And
Yeah,
I
but
was like,
again,
hey, I
because
wanna I wanna learn from this guy.
people you connect with people because you're doing things that are different, and then in the stages you build instant credibility and authority, but especially when you say the keywords, you show up your authentic self,
Hmm.
right? I was afraid to do the bike. I always, I used to sell bread as a kid, but I was like, I never thought of him bringing the bicycle to the stage. And then one of our billionaire friends, Mr. Stern, you know go, Carlos, do it. He was like, we went to dinner the night before, do it. Then I went to Walmart with a few friends.
I remember that day very clearly.
You
That
guys
was
were
a
met.
scene.
I mean, all those amazing dinners that we have and all the who's around us. And then you guys start teasing me. Why did you bring the bike? Screw it. Don't worry about. And then I was like, all right, screw it. I have a bunch of billionaires here telling me to do it. I'm gonna do it. And then I did it, and the rest is history. It became like a symbol that I tested out, and I done it again and a few other events. But again, like you said, I show up with that energy, 110% authentic. I wasn't there pitching people. I was there to add value, teach through my frameworks, storytelling, focus on that brand creation, the things that we like I was telling you earlier, giving you your flowers, that you truly walk the talk because you show up. And that's why you have so many founders, so many investors coming to you. Hey, Dinesh, what are you investing on that I wanted to be part of it? Right now you have people reaching out to you on social. I wanted to be part of whatever you wanted to be part of it, because again, that's the energy that you put it out there, but you're not just saying it, you actually walking the talk, and you've been, doing it for like now 20 plus years, man. And that's where, I love about you. And speaking of that, Dinesh, what is a legacy building collaboration you've seen over the years that still give you the chills?
Legacy building collaboration. I mean, the best example that comes to mind is Warren Buffett, right? And his partnership with Charlie Munger, and decades long collaboration and relationship that turned into a massive legacy building business. I can't think of a better example than that at the moment, but that's very inspiring. And you could see the dynamic between those two and the partnership. And it was just beautiful to watch. I went to one of their annual investor meetings, and it was just such a great experience to watch these two just completely different personalities to a certain extent interact, and one's very quiet and one's very thoughtful and has a lot to share. But that's a legacy partnership right there. You can find somebody like that to go through life, and in the business, in your business life, that can be totally life changing. And one of the things that, I would like to share is try to become a leader earlier, right? Like, try to step up in your field or whatever problem you're trying to solve, and become known, become an authority. So people want to learn from you, right? People want to invest in thought leaders, and people that are leading the way to solve something. And that's most people are not in that category, right? So if you can take the lead, you can go where people haven't gone, or start something, initiate something, whether it's an organization or meetups or anything that makes you look like the leader. Get on podcasts, get on interviews, and talk about the topic that you're working on, and solve the problems you're trying to solve. So people who are then interested in that same problem will get attracted to you, right? That's what you want. You want people to be attracted to you, and to know who you are, and to want to connect with you, not necessarily the other way around. I mean, the reality is the world's competitive, and you have to find ways to stand out and be creative. And if you want more people to join you in your mission, people want to go and support leaders, right? People that they believe will be able to solve a hard problem, or solve the problem that they're passionate about.
Yes, man. Now, so true, man. I love that duo there, man. Munger and Buffett. Just legendary. That does give the chills. I mean, through Tony Robbins, also have the honor to kind of meet and learn about some incredible people that he's been associated with, that he brings at his events.
Mhm.
Just legendary folks like Paul Tudor Jones and Ray Dalio, one of my all-time favorites too.
Yeah.
And highly recommend you guys, reading anything that Ray puts out there. And it's just incredible. Wow. As I always love to say, man, legacy isn't what you leave behind, it's what you ignite in others. Let that sink in for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. And Dinesh, before I ask you the final question of the show, man, wow, the show is so fast, just incredible. When you have a great time, time goes fast.
Yeah, it
And Dinesh,
does.
what is the best place? I bet you, man, they're gonna be following you, but you're always working on incredible, mind blowing ROI projects. For any investor, founder, anybody that's looking to invest in the big brains, in the latest and the greatest projects out there, what is the best place that they can reach out to you and ask you about, what you are working on, if you have anything amazing, because you always got something powerful going on. I know that sometimes you have things that you cannot discuss and talk about it because NDAs, but I
Mhm.
personally know that you have a lot of great things at this time. So for any investors out there, I mean, I have a lot of multimillionaires that follow the show. If they want to get to know you, if they want to see what you're investing on, and any amazing project that you are around, what is the best place that they can follow you and reach out to you?
Well, I would say I'm not very big on social, so that's one of my things. I'm just not on all the platforms and posting all the time, and maybe I should do more, but I don't.
I know I tell you a lot, but you're very private, and I
I'm more
respect.
I'm more private, and I'm more behind the scenes, but I'm starting to be a little more active on LinkedIn, and so LinkedIn would probably be the best place to message me and give me some context. And yeah, would love to meet other great people that are on the same journey, and wanna build the next generation of companies, or want to
Yeah.
be involved with the next generation of companies.
And guys, if you guys listening to me now, is you guys can look him up on LinkedIn, Dinesh, D as in Delta, Inesh, Gauba, Gaub as in Bravo, A as in Apple. Follow my friend Dinesh, guys. He's a wealth of wisdom. 20 plus years connect to multiple billionaires and Fortune 30, 50 companies out there. He's in Silicon Valley over here where I am in Northern California. I know his family is a dear friend, somebody that I'm honored to call a friend that we know each other for a very long time. And I highly recommend you guys get to know Dinesh. Follow him on LinkedIn. You guys know me, right? I push everybody.
Now you're
Put
pushing me to
more
like post stuff on
content.
LinkedIn now. I see what you're doing. I see what you're
And, I told Dinesh we're gonna take clips from this podcast. We have almost an hour of content here and there. I'm gonna have Dinesh put it out there because he got too much wisdom. And I'm always all my great friends like Dinesh to have so much wisdom. I always push them to put it out there. So it's eternalized, like this segment. We're gonna take it to the grave long after we are dead. It's gonna be there. And as you all know, my friends that follow me for a long time, speaking of taken to the grave. Dinesh, is 50 years from now, you are
wow.
100 years old. It's your eulogy. Your loved ones, they're going to be there. They're going to be reading it. And if I'm happen to still be alive, I'll be there with a Cuban cigar, drinking some scotch. Remembering you taking care of your health. I'm like, yes, sir, Dinesh. And listening to AC/DC or Metallica. And your loved one's gonna read, and they're gonna say, Dinesh Gauba was dot, dot, dot. In your own words, my brother, who was Dinesh Gauba?
Wow, now you're really putting me on the spot. I haven't even thought that far out in my life to think about that, but it's definitely I wouldn't say I've actually got any appropriate words at the moment, but now you've got me thinking. I mean, definitely want to be remembered for someone that inspired others and had impact. And I don't have a one sentence yet for it, but that's something I'll work on. But thanks for putting me on the spot, Carlos.
Even the internet stopped working.
That's funny.
No,
Yeah,
my brother, you are my friend. You are truly somebody that inspires. You're an incredible leader, husband, friend. I mean, I've seen you out there. You and your incredible spouse been married for a very long time. And everything that you do, my brother, just turns into gold. So I'm very happy that this conversation was long due. And it's an honor having you part of the Carlos Inspire Show legacy, just like many of our friends that you and I had the honor to meet on the stage, behind the scenes, or dinners and breakfasts. And incredible stories. And I'm looking forward. To many, many more interviews like this. As a shout out over here, Amanda. She is like much appreciated. Get your LinkedIn. Great show, guys.
thank
I
you.
love you. See the Nash? It's a sign, a divine.
No, thank you,
No,
thank
my
you.
brother. Thank you.
Always great to see you, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much again, guys. I want you guys to follow my brother Dinesh Gauba on LinkedIn for you guys listening to us here on the replay. As you guys know, we record those shows live. And then every Monday at 5:07 a.m. Pacific time, we release new episodes on Apple, Spotify, Alexa, Google, Audible, you name it. Anywhere, iHeartRadio, all the major platforms. And the reason why the show became such a huge success is because you guys came over, you engage, you like, you comment, and you have no idea how much they help us with the show, bring in more sponsors, donate more money to people that are struggling out of hunger, sex trafficking, organ trafficking. You guys know me. I'm big in a bunch of causes. And like I always say, life is all about the mission, never the commission. And you guys know it. The days that breaks us are truly the days that makes us.